love, inspiration, and support on that first day of school. And he's also been involved in other various community events geared towards unity, family, and fathers. So without further ado, I present to the world and our listening audience, Mr. Jason Jones from Daddy Up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No doubt, brother.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about the, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, before he starts, he will be honored by the Southern Burlington County branch of the NAACP next month with the W.E.B. Du Bois Award, too. So congratulations for that, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that greatly.
All right. Tell us a little bit about Daddy Up and what it is and what its mission is.
Well, Daddy Up is really it's a mindset more than anything else. It's I guess you can call it an organization that I started a few years back when I was in the middle of some rough times in life, and I just realized that, you know, in order for my children to be successful, I have to show them what success looks like. You know, I can't sit back and tell my kids, you know, be great at what you do, go out and be successful in this world without having achieved that and conquered the world myself. You know, how can I teach someone to do something if I don't know how to do it myself? And at that point, it was when I realized that, you know, I have to kind of daddy up to lead my family. And that mindset, having that mindset was something that I felt, you know, more men needed. You look in the community, especially the black community, and we were at a point a while back where it was almost the norm that, you know, a man would have a child and not be there to support it. You know, it was accepted. And I kind of felt that the mindset that I have, or that I had towards parenting and towards fathering, would be something that maybe could help some other people out there and could you know, get people inspired to become a better father than what they had been. So that's really where everything started. It was just more or less a mindset, and, you know, wanting to kind of share that with the world, and, you know, kind of carry on this mission that I'm, you know, that we're trying to work on.
It sounds like it's definitely a great mission that you're on, and I was just wondering, what kind of made you, you talked about some of what you were going through and things of that nature. I wonder if you could elaborate on that, and also if you could tell us a little bit about why you think that there is this perception in society that you don't have to really be responsible as a dad. Do you think that that's something that's going on through our media? Is that just something that folks are accepting of being that way, whether you're in New Jersey, whether you're in North Carolina like I am? But why do you think that this is becoming the norm? Do you think our education system isn't doing enough to talk to our fathers and things of that nature? I'd like to hear some of your elaboration on some of those thoughts.
Honestly, I think there's a lot of layers that go into that mindset and that thought, that you know, that perception that people have about fathers. I think the media plays a huge role in it. And a lot of it is things that you don't even pick up on. But if you watch commercials or TV shows, more than likely the father in scenes is always kind of portrayed as, you know, this big doofy kind of guy, like, I didn't realize I was so silly. I give you one commercial that kind of sticks out in my mind. There was, I think it's a Slim Jim commercial, and there's a husband and a wife, and they're looking for a house, and they're walking through a house with a realtor, and the realtor walks into a room, and he says to the wife, well, this would be a great place for a nursery. You know, you guys can raise kids in here. And the husband, behind the wife's back, the husband gives the realtor a look and says, no, don't, you know, kind of like shaking his head back and forth, don't mention that. And the realtor kind of gives him like, oh, I got you, bro. Kind of gives him like a little heads up. And he's, in other words, this is actually a room where somebody was, you know, they made it unappealing to the wife. And, you know, most people look at the commercial like, that's funny. I looked at the commercial and I said, you know, why are men being portrayed as not being ready to have a family? Why is this something that's accepted? You know, men are ready. You know, there's plenty of men out here who want to be fathers, who are willing to be great fathers. Why is this the norm? So I think the media plays a huge role in that. I also think that, you know, men in general, I think we play a huge role in that as well. I think a lot of times when you're in a relationship, when you have children and you're with, you know, that woman, and a lot of times that doesn't happen with men, but when you're actually with the woman that you have children with, a lot of times I think we put a lot of the responsibility on them. We don't really realize how much a woman does in a relationship to kind of carry things on for the family. And I think a lot of times we're just kind of okay with letting them do everything. And it's kind of just, all right, well, I don't do that much because I really don't do that much. And I feel like men need to really step up to the plate and start handling a lot of the things that need to be handled, such as, whether it's taking the kids back and forth to sports practice, whether it's helping them with the homework, whether it's picking them up from school, whether it's, whatever it is that you would normally feel like a woman would do, joining PTAs and stuff like that, being active. Men really need to start stepping up to that plate and handling that. So I think there's a lot of layers that go into why the perception is what the perception is. But for me, that kind of, I guess that would be the main part, I guess you could say. As far as the rough times that we were going through, there was a point right before my second daughter was born, maybe we're talking a couple days before. And my wife I was in between jobs like I normally found myself to be. And my wife was out of work on maternity leave, of course. And we had no money. When I'm saying no money, I mean, if we're collecting all the money that we had, we're going through couches, we may have had maybe $15 between the two of us. And I was in the car, and I was on the highway driving to her doctor because we had to get some paperwork filled out so she could start getting maternity leave, the state disability money. And I'm in the car, and I'm driving, and I hear a loud boom, car starts shaking, and needless to say, the car is messed up. Pull over to the side of the road, cars, smoke's coming from everywhere. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, great, now I have one child who I'm really not providing for at all. I have another one who's coming any day now. We have no money. I'm not working. My wife's not working. And I'm sitting here now on the side of the road with a car with probably, a dead engine or something that's going to cost me probably a couple $1,000s to get fixed. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and I got these tears streaming down the side of my face, and I'm thinking to myself, like, where did you go wrong? What happened? What was the issue? Where did you make this left that has led your life to the point where you are right now, where you're not only failing yourself, but you're failing your children, you're failing your wife, you're failing your mother, you're failing friends, you're failing your father, you're failing everyone who's ever believed in you. And I thought back to this conversation that I had with my dad when I was maybe 13 years old or so. Just to tell you a little bit about my father, he was an amateur boxer. From everything that I knew and all the stories that were ever told to me, he was good. He could have went pro, but he never did. So I remember one day we were in a car, just me and him, and I asked him, I said, why didn't you go pro? Like, what happened? This is around the time, but I'm starting to get really interested in sports, and I'm understanding the different levels and how much money is involved. And I'm thinking to myself, like, we could have been rich if he went pro. And I was like, why didn't you go pro? And I know in his mind, when I asked him that question, he probably thought this is a good opportunity to give my son some good life advice about being a man. And he looked at me, he took a deep breath, and he was like, son, I was in a fight with a guy and got cut real bad. And he had this cut over his left eye, these stitches, where he said a guy, it was a freak accident, but the guy cut him. But the stitches, I always remember, every time he closed his eye, the stitches kind of made his eye look like a football. But he told me about how that happened. And he said, your mother was pregnant with your sister at the time. And, I had to make a decision. I had to grow up and be a man and take care of my family. And I took it two ways. I took it subliminally and, just the regular way I took it. I didn't realize, subliminally how I took it until years later, though. But the way that I took it on surface was, like, wow, like, thank you. Like, that was commendable for you to kind of give up your dream to take care of your family. Like, that's what a man is supposed to do. And subliminally, the way that I took it, and again, I didn't realize this till years later, but subliminally, the way that I took it was, you better kind of have things figured out by a certain point, or all these kind of dreams and aspirations that you have for yourself, you may have to let go of. Life's going to get ugly, and you may have to let go of certain things. And, I didn't realize that until years later. But because of that, because I told myself I got to have things figured out, I created this deadline for myself where, I got to have my dreams accomplished. Everything's got to be all set in order and ready to go by this certain point. For me and my family, that was high school. It was high school because college was never pushed on me. I was an average kid growing up. I had average grades. think my parents knew they wanted me to go to college, but they knew if I got in, it wasn't going to be by any kind of scholarship, and they didn't really have the money to pay for it. So, that college was never pushed. They never sat me and my sister down and said, you're going to school for 4 years. So because I didn't have that extra 4 years, I created this high school deadline for myself that I want them to move. And I graduated at 17 years old, and as I'm sure most people would say, at 17 years old, you don't know what you're doing, have no idea what's going on. Life's going to change a million times over the next couple of years, and I didn't have anything figured out. And, I thought, well, I'll just do like what my dad did. I'll just get a job. That's how I'll take care of things. I'll just get a job and be a regular guy. Now, I always had this thing in myself where I kind of like wanted to be great at something, right? But I was always lazy. So I thought to myself, well, I'll just be great at whatever job that I get. Like, I just have a great attitude about it, and I go to work, and I work for a few months, and these people are going to like me. They're going to make me a manager. Once they make me a manager, I'm only a couple steps away from being like an owner. Like, that's how we're going to do it. Everything's going to be great. And I got a job, and I went in, and everything was going good. And I was making some money and getting noticed, and, managers were commending me and stuff like this. And then something happened, and I lost the job. I was like, all right, back to the drawing board. I'll just get another job and just be great at that one. Got another job, lost a job. Got a job, lost a job. Got a job, lost a job. Until I'm sitting on the side of the road with a broken down car and crying my eyes out trying to figure out where I went wrong. And I realized at that point that question that I asked my dad about why didn't he go pro had absolutely nothing to do with the question that I asked him. It was really, why didn't you chase your greatness? You could have been great in anything, but when you decided to stop boxing, you decided to become average. Your greatness could have been in the way that you mowed the lawn. It could have been in the way that, you got ready for work in the morning, in the way that you did your job. It could have been anything. But because he lived an average life, I realized that I was living an average life. I realized that you have to be more than just your words. Your words can't have to be a lot more, or you have to be your actions. My father would sit me down and tell me all the time, you have potential. You can be great at whatever you decide that you want to do, but you got to work at it. And I would listen to him and hear the words, but I never believed it because he didn't show me how to chase my greatness. And at that point, I realized, I have to daddy up. I have to become great in order for my children to be great. What I want more than anything else for my children is become great in life at whatever they do, just success, somehow to be happy and whatever they do. And how can I show them that unless I'm doing it myself? And that was really how everything began. It was a rough moment. It was a very real, raw moment with myself in that car when I realized that I wasn't doing what I needed to be doing. And I really needed to step up to the plate.
Yeah, you brought up a couple of interesting points that I'd like to see about your maybe even following up on some of those points that you just brought up. And one of them is well, the first question I'm going to ask you is, what kind of career are you in now? And, what, you had to, as you mentioned before, you've gone through various careers. You were trying to be a manager. At the time, it sounds like you only had the high school diploma, didn't necessarily have college or anything of that nature. So I was curious as to what field you are in at this moment, in addition to trying to find this organization. And then the other question I was going to ask you, which is something that I know a lot of men have a hard time dealing with, but it seems to me like you also had to get in touch with the emotional side of yourself, because you talked about the fact that at that point you actually were having that moment of connecting to your emotions when you were having that moment in the car. So I wanted to, if you could talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. The emotional side for me was it was deep. I've always been an emotional type of person, but never really had my emotions in control. They always had control of me more than anything else. I'm someone who I was always the fat kid, and I couldn't handle being picked on the way that I was. So I would internalize everything, and then when I couldn't take it anymore, I would explode, and I just couldn't keep control of my emotions at all. I'm sure most people would tell you that I had an anger issue, but that was more or less because I was hurting. I was sad, and when I had that moment in the car, and I kind of realized that these emotions that I'm going through at that moment, at least, were because of the choices that I was or was not making. It was a collection of choices that had led me to this moment, and I realized that the choices weren't good enough. and I kind of took ownership of it myself. And instead of